Hello guys, welcome back to Learning with Isha. We're talking about the various interactions that happen between populations. And today we move on to another type of interaction known as competition. Okay? Give it a thought whether competition is a positive, negative or neutral interaction. Well, or is it a positive interaction? पॉजिटिव इंटरैक्शन क्या होते हैं जिसमें दोनों मेंबर्स बेनिफिट करते हैं. न्यूट्रल क्या होते हैं जिसमें एक की प्रेजेंस से दूसरा अफेक्ट नहीं हो रहा होता है. नेगेटिव क्या होते हैं जिसमें से किसी का लॉस हो रहा हो. कंपटीशन, चलो एक आम लाइफ का एग्जांपल ले. इट्स अबाउट दिवाली टाइम हियर एंड योर मदर हैज मेड सम रियली नाइस लड्डूज. You and your sibling are fighting for a piece of laddu. So tell me, is it not competition? Well, yes, it is competition. Are you at advantage or disadvantage? Definitely you are at disadvantage. Had you been the only claimant for that laddu, it would have definitely been yours. Since now there are two people, there are two options. One, that if your sibling is faster than you in grabbing that laddu, he'll get hold of it. Otherwise, you might have to do a resource partitioning. You might have to divide that laddu. Okay? So, competition is an interaction that is negative. Okay? Where both the species face some kind of a disadvantage. What is that? Well, it's a process where the presence of one species causes a decrease in the R of the other species. What does R represent? R is the intrinsic rate of natural increase. Okay, R represents the intrinsic rate of natural increase. What is the intrinsic rate of natural increase? Well, it is the difference in the births minus deaths. Okay, so what is happening in competition? That this value is going down. Okay, for this value to go down, the number of deaths has to go to a higher number. Right? Let's say initially there were 10 people and 5 people were born and 5 were died. Right? Now if I want the R value to become smaller, let's say 4 people are born and 6 are dying. Okay? So the R value will become smaller. Okay? So this is what happens in competition. The presence of one species hinders the growth of the other species. Okay? There are types of competition. One could be interspecific competition. The other is an intraspecific competition. What is inter and what is intra? If you go for an interstate match, what does it mean? Well, it means that you could be from the Delhi team and your opponent could be from a Punjab team, from a Haryana team. It's called an interstate competition. Interstate buses भी चलती है ना, Delhi to Haryana, Delhi to Punjab, Delhi to wherever you want to go, right? So this is inter, means two different species are involved. So in the interspecific competition, there will be competition between members of two different species. Okay? And intra means within, intranet. Okay? A net that is available within an organization is called an intranet. Okay? So intra means within. Okay? Intra is where the competition is between members of same species. When members of the same species are fighting for similar resources. Take a second and think which kind of competition would be more severe, intra or inter? Well, always the competition between people who are alike is more similar. Why? Because they have the same means of getting a resource. A strategy my fellow human would adopt to get a resource will be very different that a lion would adopt to get a resource. Okay? So competition within a species is always more severe. Okay? So intraspecific competition is always very severe. As similar resources and similar means, similar adaptations are present for getting the same resource. Okay? When Darwin spoke about competition and natural selection, he was referring to the interspecific competition, the one right here. Okay? He believed that it was the competition between two different species that led to a selection of a more fitter one. Okay, so if you get a question that asks what was Darwin talking about? He was talking about interspecific competition. Now in the next part we are going to examine a statement and you are going to figure out which part of it is incorrect. Now consider the given statement. Okay, if I were to say that competition occurs between members of the same species that are fighting for the same resource and the resources are limiting. Well, only one of these statements is true and the other two are false. Pause the video and take a second to think which of the given statements are false. Okay? I hope you paused the video and tried to find the answer yourself. Okay, let's consider each statement by statement. Let's go through the answers. Okay, the first statement says that members of the same species. Well, competition, I told you, is of two types, intra and inter. So in the first part I have already told you that competition occurs between members of different species as well. Example, let's say there is a pond where aquatic birds and fishes are both fighting to get their share of insects, right? So these aquatic birds and fishes are members of different species, but they're fighting for a same resource. Okay, the second statement says that the members are fighting for the same resource. Yes, right, like in the example I gave you, the resource has to be common. The laddu has to be common for there to be a fight between you and your sibling. If the resources are different, there will be no point of competition. If there is competition, the resource has to be same. Okay. The next point says the resource is limiting. Well, the resource need not be limiting. Even if the resource is abundant, there can be competition. Okay. Even when resource is abundant. In the example given here where the birds and the fishes were fighting for insects, the resource is abundant. There are plenty of insects available, okay, but still there is competition. So the resource need not be limiting. So statements A and C are false, but there has to be the same resource for competition to occur. Okay, a word now that comes here is known as interference competition. What is interference competition? Is when the resources are not limiting, as in the third case, but what is happening is that one species is interfering with the lifestyle, with the feeding habits, with the reproductory habits of another species. It is affecting adversely, एक खराब तरीके से अफेक्ट कर रहा है दूसरी स्पीशीज की लाइफस्टाइल को. इसको क्या कहते हैं? हम कहते हैं इंटरफेरेंस competition. See, like I always say, the word itself gives a lot of the meaning. Okay, interference का क्या मतलब होता है? किसी की लाइफ में दखल देना, किसी की चीजों को हैम्पर करना, रोक लगाना, राइट? एग्जैक्टली यही होगा. एक स्पीशीज दूसरे पे रोक लगाएगी. जैसे कि रेड हार्वेस्टर ants are a type of ants. What they do? These are another Novomessor is another type of ants. What the red harvester ants is going to go and block the colonies, the entrances to the colonies of the Novomessor ants by using small stones. So अगर ये इसकी colony है और ये entrances है, so this red harvester ant is going to plug these entrances using small pebbles. What will happen? These ants will not be able to come out of their colony. If they don't come out, they'll not go out looking for food, right? So there'll be abundant food for the red harvester ants. So this is an example of interference competition.